Business process outsourcing.
For decades now, as you know, large companies have been outsourcing information technology services as well as what we call back office services, things like administrative duties and customer services. For companies, getting rid of these tasks or passing on these office services means lower costs, for one thing. But it also gives companies the chance to focus on their core business, manufacturing, sales, research, whatever business they're actually in. Up until the 1990s, American and British businesses tended to outsource these tasks to workers in their own country. But in the 1990s, company bosses realized that India had a large pool of technically literate workers who could work for a fraction of the cost. So many large companies started to take advantage of India's outsourcing companies in a big way. The problem is that now India has just become too expensive. Firstly, there are no longer enough skilled English-speaking workers to cope with demand, so these workers have tended to move from company to company in search of the highest-paid jobs. This has kept pushing up the cost of Indian salaries and therefore also pushed up the cost of outsourcing for American and British customers. In addition, there's been a huge increase in property prices in cities such as Bangalore, Chennai and Pune. And infrastructure in these areas, things like transport and sanitation, has just not been able to keep pace with the growth of the outsourcing industry. Some Indian outsourcing companies have tried to move their businesses to rural locations in order to find a way around these issues. But, as you can imagine, there are usually fewer skilled workers in rural areas, so this isn't really a solution. So basically, India has become a victim of its own success. What that means is that some American and British customers have started to outsource to lower-cost markets elsewhere instead. So places such as China, the Philippines, Brazil, Mexico, Eastern Europe. But there's also been a positive development, and that is that some of the Indian companies which offer outsourcing services have begun to set up in business in other countries. So they're re-exporting outsourcing work to places with cheaper labour. Indian companies that used to be small firms providing services for global companies abroad have become important global companies themselves.